Good evening, Baller Nation. It's your boys, the Shotcallers, back with another podcast episode. The date is October 18th, 2019. And as always, we're back to talk basketball. To my right, I got my boy Richard Rose Petals Bustos.
Hey, man. The shirt looks good with
rocking
roses.
The shirt.
It's black. It's nighttime outside. It's black outside. We were podcasting later than we've ever had before. It feels good. I feel good. I feel good to be here. Happy to see y'all.
Yeah, if you guys aren't watching us on YouTube, check out the YouTube channel so you can see what Richard's wearing. And to my left, I got my boy Andre Fresh Cut West. Just got the fresh fade.
Got the fresh fade. You know, man, drop fade.
Look good, feel good, right?
Your hair's getting tall, man.
Yeah, it's getting up there.
He's rocking it. My hair's getting tall, but not in a good way. Got to fix that up. And as always, we're glad to be with you guys to talk NBA hoops. Before we get started, let's kick it off with some social media. We are on Apple Podcasts, of course. Spotify, Anchor, radio.com,
Pocket Casts,
Google Podcasts,
Breaker.
Yeah, and of course, you can also watch this on YouTube. Our channel is The Shotcallers. Find us on Twitter at Shotcallers Show. Follow us on Instagram, the underscore Shotcallers.
We've given it a real life boost as far as
we're going
the page goes.
We're going for daily content on that, guys. So if you want to just get to see what we're doing in our day-to-day lives, or just want to hear a little tidbit or a question, we appreciate the feedback. We have several questions that we've already posted a few questions on there, and we would like to hear from the fandom. Want to get your take on some of the latest NBA news. And I think the only one that I haven't mentioned is, of course, if you want to send us a question, send us an email to shotcallershow@gmail.com, and we will respond promptly to any question you may have. But without further ado, we're going to kick this episode off with a little bit of NBA news. Rich, what do we have on deck for NBA news?
So the first thing pressing on the docket is something that's pressing on a lot of people's minds at this time throughout the country, as far as the United States goes, on both sides of the aisle. Without getting into all the politics, I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's something that kind of sucked the air out of the room in terms of excitement for the preseason. I mean, It just really feels like it took away, kind of the fever that was kind of capturing us all. But it seemed like the story was kind of dying away, the Hong Kong, China, Daryl Morey kind of stuff, as far as in the United States or American news cycle. But LeBron James had
he took 11 days off to come back and pretty much condemn Daryl Morey's actions. He
had an impromptu or semi-impromptu press conference outside of the Staples Center inside the Staples Center before the game, for a preseason game.
So to paraphrase real quick for everybody at home, right? The quote essentially said that Daryl Morey was not educated and he should have picked a better time to bring up the substance. He said he wasn't he cleared it up later, said he wasn't debating the substance of his tweet, but he was questioning the timing because he was being inconsiderate, essentially, of who could potentially be affected. He said financially, emotionally, physically,
even spiritually.
So he caught a lot of heat for that. I'm sure if you guys have not been on Twitter, I mean, it was full of it.
And I think he even said, do we have to tweet about everything, or is social media the place for everything?
Yeah, so he's trying to pick his battles, and that kind of goes against his whole, current PR campaign of being more than an athlete.
Yeah.
So he's like, we don't need to comment on every social thing, only what's important to me. But I mean, his whole thing is, I'm more than just an athlete.
Yeah. So. Some of the things you heard was, shut up and dribble. No, don't shut up and dribble unless you piss off China or something like that. That's one I saw.
Oh, yeah, the funny stuff.
A lot of, memes around it. You had other NBA players, particularly, or of note, was Enes Kanter, who's, of course, has been very vocal against Turkey's authoritarian
that's his home
regime.
country. They voided his visa.
They put him on Interpol, so he can't travel outside the U.S. I mean,
he's got an international warrant. Yeah,
his family personally is attacked when they go out in public. So
he can't go to. He actually doesn't go to Toronto for games.
So it was pretty. It's pretty rough for somebody in that situation to kind of see one of his peers come out and kind of dismiss what's going on in Hong Kong. And wherever you guys stand on the LeBron comments, I mean, ultimately, we got to try to look at it both ways, right? When he quotes things like MLK, where he says, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. It's paraphrasing even that quote, but essentially, to use that quote, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, whatever the timeline might be. And then now to say, hey, there's a time and a place for it, it's kind of
hypocritical.
Some people would call it selling out.
Yeah.
And so you have to wonder, did he intend to speak in a different way originally? Because he did clarify himself in 2 tweets later on saying, okay, I didn't get the message that I really wanted to across. And maybe that was damage control. But I kind of asked myself, is he really saying, did Daryl Morey not consider the fact that these players were in China at that time? And so was that element of it inconsiderate? How were those guys feeling being in the country at that time? And if that was his intention, maybe he could have just said that.
More that's what I was about to say. Yeah. Like, he could have said the timing should have been better, not should have said, hey, you should have thought about people financially.
How is it hurting people financially? The first word that comes out is financial.
The fact that he said financially, I think, is what struck a chord with a lot of people. And, I mean, LeBron is still going to be, you know, a business mogul.
Yeah, he's still the face of the league, still going to do all this stuff.
But. And so one thing that kind of I read this week that kind of resonated with me is, like, even if LeBron didn't exactly say this or exactly say that, it really comes down to what everyone remembers you saying. Michael Jordan, there's not really proof that he said Republicans buy sneakers too. But even if he didn't really say that, we all attribute it to him. And that lives on with him and his legacy of being, you know, a ruthless businessman out there for the dollar.
He never marketed himself as like a social activist or anything like that. He was just a ball player.
Something a lot of people went in on too, that when when Jordan was asked, I don't know exactly what the situation was, but whenever he was asked about political stance and stuff like that, he would always say, I don't know enough to talk about it, and he would just leave it at that. So I think that's where people were like, we'd rather you say that than you kind of contradict yourself.
Right. Don't pretend, or at least say you're going to be about or support something. Then on the other side, be like, all right, I don't want to talk about it.
I think we could talk all day about this.
This could be its own separate show.
Yeah,
pretty much,
that's for sure. And I just think it's so surreal that it's like a controversial or like newsworthy for someone to say, I support freedom of speech, like in America. Like we're in the United States, right? You know? And it's something that like it could be controversial that I say that. I, Richard Bustos of the Shotcallers, support freedom of speech, and I hope that that's not controversial.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
I mean, that's probably what Morey was thinking when he said it. Right. It's like, oh, nobody's gonna think too much about this, and then it's like, oh,
then this whole thing just blew
although I think he was slightly responsible in the fact that he works directly with
he should have known that this could, especially like Houston being the #1 team in China, he should have known.
Again, not to drag this on, but then it goes back to the whole thing. It's like, well, even though he knew, he probably was like, I think freedom is important enough that it shouldn't matter.
Yeah. And even if he were to be able to like walk it back, or if he were to think to himself, would I do it again? Like, it's hard for me to imagine what he would say or think, oh, he definitely wouldn't because he would avoid the firestorm. What if he appreciates how much awareness has been brought to the forefront?
Maybe this is exactly what he wanted. Now people are talking about it. You're right.
Maybe it's just something he didn't know he wanted.
That's a very good question. Would he do it again? And we can't say he wouldn't.
My family probably.
Can we get Morey on the show?
I'll try. I'll tweet him.
You're gonna have to fight through all those Chinese bots though. So.
Let us know, guys, on Twitter at Shotcallers Show. What did you guys think about this whole Hong Kong, China
debacle? And this isn't going away. Like, this can affect the bottom line for the NBA, for LeBron, of course, for the salary cap, for international relations, all sorts of stuff like that. So I expect this to be at least on the forefront of
Silver Lining. Tencent, that's the Chinese company, right?
Tencent.
Yeah, they've actually started showing NBA games again.
Good.
So I know as of last week they said they weren't, but they're back.
Speaking of bottom line, Rich, and dollar signs, next piece of news.
Oh yeah, we hit this up on the gram this morning, or on Thursday morning. If you guys want to go check out _shotcallers, I went ahead and kind of got the message out some more. Adrian Wojnarowski reporting that Bradley Beal signed a 2-year extension for $73 million starting at the end of this season. He cannot be traded for the next 6 months during this year. So he's out, basically off the trade market. So that really makes a lot of people.
And it's like a player option, the second year, right?
The second year is a player option. So he's only signing one more guaranteed year in Washington with a 15% trade kicker.
Yeah.
That he can waive. You know, we've seen players waive that before. If anything, it just makes him more money if Washington ends up trying to ship him out. Throws another wrinkle in there for teams trying to add to their contending teams. There were a lot of duos salivating over adding a third guy. Bradley Beal seemed like the perfect fit for a lot of teams. I just personally imagine Portland, with Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum. We all know that Rick Carlisle loves the 3-guard lineup. Imagine a 3-guard lineup of Bradley Beal, CJ McCollum, and Damian Lillard. Anyway, that throws a wrench in things for this season. So I wonder.
And it makes the offseason that much weaker when it comes to free agency.
Exactly.
Probably the last big name left. So one question I have for you guys to kind of piggyback off of the last topic. When during the offseason, CJ, you got CJ on
Bradley
Bradley had the option of extending at that point. And he opted out, and the story behind that, or the idea behind that, was that, hey, he'll become a free agent at the end of this year, and he'll qualify for a larger contract, possibly even a supermax if he were to make an all NBA. Which, being the only star on there, he could do it. He gets him to the playoffs. He could make all NBA. You never know, right? But my question for you guys is: do you think the fact that all this Hong Kong China stuff that might affect the bottom line? That like
so
Richard
the salary cap goes down.
Could make him think.
You still get a max.
Let me lock my money down.
If anything, maybe he would have signed the 5-year, but the Wizards just aren't a destination where he wants to be at long term. But yeah, he wants to cash in on this year or next year. Saying, give us the money right now.
I know what the salary cap is this year and next year. I don't want to see what it is in 4 years or 5 years.
Well, I think like when you sign contracts, it's just a total percentage of the salary cap. Right?
Yeah.
So it's going to scale either way.
Yeah, exactly. But, so if he's looking at getting a max contract, he's kind of, I think he's playing the middle, right? He wants to get the large. He wants the salary, large amount of money, but he also doesn't want to stay on the Wizards.
Yeah, he wants to see how John Wall comes back, and he wants the option to get out. Dude. Yeah, exactly. Well, he's already come back. He's an assistant coach now, as of today.
John Wall.
I thought that was a joke.
Yeah. No, I guess not. I mean,
no, he's officially an assistant
coach. My man Scott Brooks needs all the help he can get.
$45 million assistant coach.
I mean, regular coaches don't get paid out of the salary cap. He does. And it gives Bradley Beal some time to scope out the situation and see if he really wants to be there or not. So.
Cool.
Good for him.
Yeah, my man,
all the way around.
Albert Namad, close with the Heat organization, as far as like reporting on the transactions and the salary cap expert. Definitely worth a follow. He was mentioning Bradley Beal can't be traded for 6 months, but his 15% trade bonus becomes active the moment he signs an extension. So if he's traded after that, he could actually end up making more money than a regular free agent max could be. So it could be more lucrative than anything. So pretty crazy. Lots of
smart.
They got some smart men negotiating these contracts.
Yeah.
Some people work in the off season, I guess.
Yeah.
Not us.
Nerlens Noel, you need to talk to this guy.
Oh, Jesus.
What's next?
That's a low blow. We didn't ask for that.
What's next on the
so we have a
newsreel.
The Eric Bledsoe injury.
Yeah, so thumb injury, right? For Bledsoe. I wasn't too sure. I knew he was out. But I know he's gone back to non-contact training now. So hopefully he'll be ready by the time the season starts. That's probably pushing it a little, but I can see him coming back maybe the second week.
Well,
but
I don't think there's any reason to rush it when you're talking about the Bucks.
Yeah.
I think
and George Hill's been doing a good job filling in for him. Actually, really well. They've won every game, I believe, in the preseason.
Yeah, and it wasn't his thumb; it was his ribs.
Yeah.
His ribs. Yeah, that's what it was.
Missing up to 2 to 3 weeks, and you're saying he's in non-contact drills already.
So it seems like he's ahead of schedule, so he'll probably be back around game 10.
Yeah,
if I had to guess.
Let's hope George Hill keeps it up, man.
If you look at the Bucks' schedule, they can. They're
it's the East too, so they'll be all right. Yeah,
they'll be good.
They're gonna go straight to the 1 seed, I think.
Straight to.
I don't
the
know
one
about
seed.
that,
yeah,
man. I'll contest that.
You're probably
right. I'm trusting the process over. You already know.
We had Anthony Davis with the thumb sprain.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
That thumb sprain.
Entire LA held their breath when
dude.
that first came out.
Everybody was commenting on everything. Like
they're like, oh,
it was like he got traded all over again. Everybody was like, "See, I told you this is what it was." And,
one thumb sprain away from not making the playoffs.
His critics, people that are harsher on him, say like, "Oh, he misses a lot of games," and then the people
Anthony
that
Davis,
that are more high on him will say.
Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's a perfect one.
That's a good one.
Because people say, "Oh, he's played 70 games, however many years or whatever, 60 plus, 65 plus games." But there's so many times where he leaves at halftime with the, tweak this or
turn that or
exactly.
bruise something.
So
and they're saying he's set to play the next game. So
I'm glad it's not serious. We want to see everybody full strength.
Yeah.
Finally, play opening weekend
parity
against the Lakers.
Yeah. Lakers Clippers.
I mean, Lakers Clippers.
Battle for Los Angeles.
Oh yeah.
Y'all see those new jerseys?
Those
what do they call them though? I saw those jerseys, but what do they call They're not statement jerseys.
Yeah,
those are the statement.
They are the statement jerseys.
The Nike brands, the different
ones.
Bro,
it looks like those hats you get made at the flea market.
Yeah,
it looks like some San Andreas
that
stuff.
old English.
Oh yeah, it looks like GTA San Andreas. That's exactly what it looks like. Or it looks like when you drew the cool S.
The cool S.
Yeah.
I know.
Literally everyone knows what that
90s
is.
kids. But AD looking good, set to play the next game. After that, so Lakers picked up Kyle Kuzma's team option.
Yeah.
So this is third year.
Not a surprise whatsoever.
No.
They fought for him in the trade, keeping him instead of sending him off to the Pelicans, choosing to opt to send away
$5.5 million. over
Lonzo
the next 2
Ball,
years.
Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram. They said, "You take those guys. We want to work
We
with.
want Kuzma.
We want someone that can push LeBron, literally, when he's not playing defense." So that's I'm down with that. It's cool with me.
Yeah.
That guy's like
He's actually
He tweeted about
very
it, and
important piece for them.
he seemed pretty happy. He said, "I'm rich."
well. This whole China stuff kind of
locking
messed up some of his other money, so
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure he's happy he got that contract
yeah,
picked
you're
up.
right.
with Anta, right?
Yeah. Well, he had. I know he signed a contract with Puma, but there were some Chinese companies that he was actually about to announce while they were over in China, and then all this stuff blew up. So it's like, man,
Ouch.
that's a lot of money lost for a guy like that. It was just like
Now he's only gonna make
blowing up.
$5.5 million.
Yeah, and like, there's no guarantee he's gonna sign
Poor
maximum
guy.
extensions
Poor
or whatever.
guy.
Well, it's all relative, you know.
Yeah,
Is it?
Yeah, to him,
he's in California too. You got to play that California tax.
That's a chunk.
Yeah.
But we did have one last thing, sort of a bittersweet.
Yeah, so we had some bad news in Dallas going on with police shootings. So Tatiana Jefferson passed away in Fort Worth, and former Dallas Maverick Harrison Barnes is covering her funeral costs. So props to this guy. Even though he's not in Dallas anymore, he's always been a guy of high character. So I'm glad to see that he's doing something like that to support the community even when he's not here anymore. So
Yeah, it's definitely a time of a lot of turmoil around here. And one thing I'll say is him doing that in the Sacramento Kings uniform, that is actually familiar pretty much to me, because I remember a lot of times where Boogie Cousins would donate to cover expenses in that same vein, or help a kid go to prom, or pay for this or pay for that. So community outreach is big in Sacramento, and hopefully it gets even bigger in Dallas and everywhere. So that feels good. Great job. We used to call you Max Barnes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good job spending
Always
that,
a fan
Max.
favorite here in Dallas, and by him doing that, obviously it shows his character, and also shows that he still holds Dallas in his heart. And as much as we miss Harrison Barnes, we wish for him great things in Sacramento.
Yep. But if only one of us can make the playoffs, sorry, dog. We'll see you next season.
Cool. So to pick up on last week's episode, we are gonna go back and finish up the second half of the NBA season previews. So just like last week, we're each gonna cover 5 teams apiece. We're gonna go around the table, and we're just gonna give a little bit about some of the expectations we have for each team, some names that for you guys to look out for.
Maybe an X factor.
Yes, sir. An X factor. Like, again, next time you're talking by the water cooler, make sure to mention a few of these names, and you're gonna sound like you're a
you know your stuff.
You're a seasoned pro.
This guy.
Who wants to kick it off?
Go ahead, Andre.
All right.
You got voluntold.
All right. So 5 teams each. I guess I'll start us off with the Miami Heat. So this dude right here, rookie, he was the 13th pick this past draft. Tyler Herro.
Everyone's high on this guy.
Yeah, this dude, man. I was just going through the NBA box scores one night, and I saw this dude's stat line. I was like, hold up, what's going on? I had to go back and look at the games, all his other box scores. This dude's putting up 14.3, 4 and 2. Shooting 51.2, 52.6, and 83.3. So those are like pretty much all-star numbers. He was starting for them. I know he had the last game they played, he hit 5 threes in a row. He's just been doing it all, like offensively. A lot of people have been comparing him to Klay Thompson. So if that's his ceiling,
that'll be Jimmy's release valve. Right there.
if that's his ceiling, then the Miami Heat have a good piece moving forward.
That's a crazy statement, though, in my opinion. Just to put on anybody's shoulders at any time. So
looks a lot like the second best shooter in the history of the NBA.
I think the best thing that you can say is, like, I see qualities that Klay Thompson has. You know what I mean?
He's a 3-and-D guy, a sharpshooter. Can put the ball on the floor a little, but that's not going to be his primary motive. He's going to take pressure off of your primary ball handler.
That'll be good for
a team like the Heat, who your primary ball handler is going to be Jimmy Butler. Like, having a guy like that you can pass the ball out to and can knock down a shot is going to be really important. Yeah, especially if they're fighting for like a playoff position.
If they don't trade Goran Dragic anytime soon, it definitely would mean a lot to not have Jimmy Butler run every pick and roll action. And save him kind of as your secret weapon or not so secret weapon in the fourth quarter. So if he can develop quickly, like, Eric Spoelstra definitely has the respect of his organization to just do whatever he wants. And if they want to throw him out there, they're going to do it.
And they're throwing him out there starting too, so they must be pretty high on him. So keep your eyes out for this guy. Who's next?
You want me to go or are you ready?
You can go ahead, JB.
Cool. So my first team is going to be, I got contenders this week. It's going to be the Boston Celtics. And this is probably the name that gets most of the fans. Oh, fan favorite. Brand new, but a fan favorite already. And that's going to be Taco Fall. Oh. So Taco Fall is 7'6". And that alone, of course, if you guys watched him at all in over at UCF, he was, just his sheer size, he kind of willed his way to buckets. Didn't score a ton of points, but he was very active around the rim. And if you watch his preseason game, he just covers a lot. So he's not a fast dude, right? Because he's so tall. No. Obviously, he has huge strides, but he does cover a lot of area quickly. I was watching the game against the Hornets, and like the guy that he's guarding, sets the screen. Guy comes around, he runs around the screen. He sticks with the guy that's rolling to the rim, and then he still is able to make it over to the guy because he ends up not dishing it to the guy that's rolling, and he blocks it.
Wow!
So he's like guarding the two guys at the same time. It's crazy, dude. He's standing. He's just standing in a normal like defensive stance. Yeah. Just kind of backpedaling, not really backpedaling because he takes 2 steps and he's at the freaking basket.
Oh my god!
But he just backs up and he's kind of like when you kind of stick to the first guy and then the guy that
just playing the second guy just to see. Yeah.
And then boom, he just swats the ball handler. Yeah. It was pretty crazy. I think it'll be great to see him in a larger minute role. Obviously he'll be coming off the bench. But in 23 minutes in college, he was he's averaging 2.5 blocks, 7.7 rebounds. So you put him in for a little bit more time, he probably won't get more than about 23 minutes anyway. But that's still effective off of the bench if you can get 2.5 blocks and 7.7 rebounds. I don't know how well that will translate because we've seen guys that size kind of
struggle.
Struggle, and they play him a little bit differently, right? The guys in the NBA are way more athletic, so they can get around him a little bit easier. But he looked good in that preseason game, so as long as he can keep that up and he can do that in limited minutes, he'll be effective.
I mean, if he ends up showing out even in limited minutes, like you're saying, we're definitely gonna be seeing a lot of him. People, they love showing him on ESPN, so it will not be a secret if he ends up doing well.
Oh yeah, especially like a team like the Celtics who could use a little bit more rim protection. I think he'll be a good fit.
Yeah, and you don't need him to score. You got plenty of scoring around him.
Yeah, you were talking about rim protection, and not to derail the segment, but there was some swirling rumors going around for Gordon Hayward getting traded possibly for somebody like Steven Adams. I think. Were we talking about that?
We were talking about that a week ago. We did say possibly.
So they're still swirling. I'm not going to credit anybody.
That was exactly what we said. Steven Adams to the Celtics.
So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But rim protection is at a premium in this league for certain teams. So I'm sure that the Celtics wouldn't mind rounding it out that way. Yeah. Taco Fall if he doesn't work out, of course.
If he doesn't work out.
If he does, even better.
Yeah. Can't have too much rim protection.
Y'all ready for me?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Right, so for me, I have the New Orleans Pelicans as one of the most intriguing teams on my docket. I was really excited to talk about them today. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about Zion.
What?
Yeah, that's what everybody wants.
Nah.
We're going to get so much of him. He's so explosive. He shoots like 70% from the field.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Drew?
No, I'm not. I'm actually going to be talking about...
More people should talk about Drew.
Let's stop trying to guess.
More people should talk about Drew. But yeah, go on.
Drew,
go on,
for
Rich.
sure.
Yeah.
He's going to be the face of the team this season. He's going to try to make an all-star team. But I want to talk about Brandon Ingram. And not because I'm particularly high on him. I haven't been high on him for most of his young career as a LA Laker. I wonder how much they're going to try to explore his trade value this season, or try to bump him up to trade him, or see if they're going to keep him past this year, because after this year he can just sign as a free agent elsewhere. So they got to say, do I got to get something for this asset? How much time or how much how much of the offense we're going to funnel to this guy to see if he can develop or add to his value? And it's kind of troubling because I want to see Zion thrive. I want to see him. I didn't watch a whole lot of Zion in college, but I saw a lot of the clips on Instagram when he was in high school dunking on dudes, and now he's even slimmer, more svelte. I want to just it to be the Zion show. Zion, Lonzo Ball, I really love that pairing, and I feel like the more they try to develop Brandon Ingram, it might just slow him down.
Trying to force too much?
Too much, and like the way that Brandon Ingram plays, I don't have the stats on deck to kind of
Kevin Durant
to facilitate.
But nowhere near
I'm just kidding.
to facilitate my thoughts here, but it's more of a, if you watch the game, I think you'll see what I see. I see a lot of DeMar DeRozan in Brandon Ingram, in that he can definitely get to the mid-range spot, but he's not going to be streaking past his guy. when you streak past your guy completely, that draws more help for you to send the ball around the basket. That beautiful basketball, get to JJ Redick 2 passes away.
I feel like the ball stops more when it gets to him.
It's not even that it stops, because he can make a play and make a pass, 1 pass away.
Yeah.
But it's just not where he's drawing so much attention that it makes things so much easier on other people.
Yeah, he's not shooting efficiently enough to get the respect he can get needs from the defense.
He can get the lift, and he can make some difficult shots, or at least take the difficult shot, because he has the length. But like I said, he's not blowing past people with his athleticism.
Yeah.
He's not a super lock from 3. Doesn't shoot great from the free throw line, which is what is kind of the most telling as far as if someone's going to develop their true shot.
Right.
He's in the 60s still, low 70s at times, and so and then on top of that, he's playing with Lonzo Ball.
We also haven't seen a whole lot of him.
Who?
Brandon Ingram, and that's been the second biggest thing with him is his health. He's never played a full season.
The blood clot thing, and so I just feel like in that offense where they're going to be wanting to run up and down the court with all those young guys mixed with old guys, Lonzo Ball likes to get the ball ahead, get the ball moving down the court.
Move it quick,
Ingram's really fast. Doesn't have the best vision. I want to just see Zion all the time. Just like have Brandon Ingram come off the bench. Let Zion run that fast break, because we know he can handle it.
Yeah,
and he's a freight train. Like he's looking like Julius Randle mixed with with LeBron James without any of those sharp skills. But just give it to him. I just don't want him to get in the way. So that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, if Brandon Ingram was a little more efficient, I feel like he'd fit well. But now I feel like he's the odd man out on that team. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it.
Cool.
All right, so moving on. My next team, I got the Milwaukee Bucks, and this is a guy who was a lottery pick back in 2016, the 4th pick. So
is it?
No, Dragon Bender. This is his 4th.
Okay.
This is his 4th team.
This is not what I expected.
Yeah, no, he's actually been like killing it in the preseason. They got him playing double digits. He's shooting 60.7 from the field, 53.8 from 3, 84.6, high volume.
Everybody out there, find someone that looks at you the way that Andre looks at the preseason, man.
I mean, like this is what you're going on.
This guy is pumped.
They're letting him play big minutes, like 20, 24 minutes per game. So he's been doing it well. And to see a guy like this put up numbers like that, especially like you look at his career stats, and they're not even half of this. So he's been shooting efficiently on high volume, and it makes you think. So Draymond Green had an excerpt today talking about how everyone likes to blame the players, but they never really look at like the team or the environment and stuff that drafts them. So this guy's coming from the Suns. So like you look at a bad environment like that, and then you look at him go to somewhere like a contender like Milwaukee, and then he starts doing well. So how much of that is on the player, and how much of that could be on the environment?
I mean, let's see if
this translates.
No, that's not what I'm gonna say. I'm going to say, let's see what TJ Warren does on the Pacers, because it's like I've never seen TJ Warren play a defensive possession that mattered in his life, because he only played one, just a season or so on the Suns. But that's the Suns.
Right.
So a new situation can speak volumes. Like look at Deion Waiters in Cleveland trying to get the ball from LeBron James, not getting the ball. Yeah. And then going to Oklahoma City, trying to get the ball, but not getting the ball from Kevin Durant. And then he went to the Heat, and he had that one, kind of jump out season where he cut the weight, really, took it to the
heel injury.
Got injured, unfortunately, but
got back on the Philly cheese.
But it's just about the opportunity that you need. So I mean, we'll see. I'm rooting for him.
So he's doing well so far. Milwaukee's a contending team, so he'll have all the opportunity to prove his worth. But
and I think the preseason is good for this kind of segment when we're kind of trying to get hyped about something.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. I'm just joking.
I could just be like, oh yeah, give it to Giannis. He's shooting the ball. Like, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna stop him. It's the Bucks.
Exactly. I'm totally joking about the preseason stuff, but you do want to find someone that looks at you the way that Andre looks at the preseason.
I'm looking for the diamonds in the rough right now. So that's one.
Yes, sir. So I'm gonna cover the next is the Brooklyn Nets. Not an unfamiliar name, but I'm looking forward to seeing the development of Spencer Dinwiddie behind Kyrie Irving. So over the last 3 years, he's been way more consistent with his 3-point shooting. He used to shoot in the teens. Now he shoots consistently in the mid-30s. I think that's somebody who, he does play solid defense. He doesn't have a crazy good defensive rating. So I'm not looking for him to be like necessarily a 3-and-D guy, but I think his offense speaks for itself. Possible 6-man candidate just from what I've seen him do, not only this preseason, but all of last season. Somebody who can come off the bench and be a Lou Williams type of player. I mean, when we're talking 6 men of the year, we're going to say you got to play like Lou Williams, right? He can come in. He can play ISO. So you can give him the ball. He can be at the top of the 3-point line. He can make something happen. But I love seeing him when he's playing in transition. He just gets the ball from one side of the court to the other side of the court so fast. He attacks the rim, does not slow down. What I love, though, is, he'll bring it across half court, and it looks like he's about to, run a play. And he just puts the ball on the floor and just takes it to the rim. Doesn't matter who's at the rim. He takes it to the rim and he finishes, no hesitation. And then at the same time, what that does is when he does that kind of play, or even when he comes off the pick and roll, they have to respect his mid-range shot because he does shoot very well from the mid-range. And then he's very good at the bounce passes. And then he also has a really nice passes in the air. I'm not a huge fan of guys passing in the air, but he's been caught in the air, and he still is able to sneak it to the big man, and then they finish because, people think he's committed to the shot. So he does a good job of that. Most guys, when they're in the air, they're usually out of control. When they try to get rid of the ball, they just swing it, and it ends up in a turnover. But I was watching a lot of his plays from last year, and he's very good at, even when he's caught in the air, he still gets it to the right guy. But his bounce passes, man, you should watch his bounce passes in transition, and even off the pick and roll, he's real precise with it, almost like Jokic's passes. You guys have seen those nice passes from Jokic. So I really look forward to seeing him. Of course, he's coming off the bench behind Kyrie Irving, but I would like to see them on the floor at the same time. It'd be interesting to kind of, like I said, him be like a release valve in the corner. And he could be I feel like he could be a starting point guard on a lot of other teams.
So would you think that, just based on what you're saying, even though Kevin Durant's not on the team, would you think that the Nets are going to be able to punch up a little higher than maybe the 6th seed this season? Do you think
Kevin Durant, without Kevin Durant?
Yeah,
no, I don't think so. Just because the depth on the other teams, I'm a little bit higher on the depth on teams like Indiana, Boston. The Sixers and the Bucks are just very top heavy. Mm-hmm. Like their starting lineups are just all-star caliber. Yeah. Everybody on 3 or 4 out of the 5 on each of those starting lineups are probably going to make an all-star team. I can think of immediately Giannis and oh my gosh, why is this
Chris Middleton?
Yes, Chris Middleton are going to make the all-star game,
and then maybe Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah,
they were saying
and then same thing on the 76ers, right? So those two teams are just very top heavy. I don't think they can get past the depth of the Celtics and the Pacers just yet. But with Kevin Durant, that doesn't even matter. Yeah. Once Kevin Durant is I could see them going all the way to the number 1 seed because Kevin Durant's that good.
It's kind of a sabbatical year for them, you think? Just we get a year
get it together.
See what happens.
So whoever they play in the first round, they'll give them a good fight because of guys like Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen. Oh, one thing I didn't even mention, when he does those bounce passes, he really likes to do them to Jared Allen most of the time because they're usually on the floor at the same time. And Jared Allen can finish. Yeah. So you got to have a guy like that next to you when you're a guy that can pass with that efficiency, with that effectiveness, because you do those really nice passes and you have guys that can't finish. It's kind of disappointing. But Jared Allen, really good at that. Kenneth Faried was very good at that as well. So he had those big men that could finish strong at the rim. And man, I would love to see him next to Kevin Durant, even when the time comes, because he is a very good passer. Kyrie's not the pass first; he's a shoot first kind of point guard. Spencer Dinwiddie is a pass first kind of point guard. So that'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun to see him develop. And then I won't talk too much about Brooklyn Nets because they got a lot of talent. Karis LeVert, who are up and coming as well. I think Karis LeVert still kind of has a
very
still got
some
room
to grow. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm excited for the team. I'm excited for the court. I'm excited for the television broadcast with Iron Eagle. Everything's good. The whole presentation, the whole package is good. Iron Eagle. Okay. The guy on the Yes Network. Anyway, he's good. Way better than Mark Jackson. I'll tell you that much.
What? Don't say
it. Mama. So for mine, you actually mentioned Lou Williams. I'm going to talk about Lou Williams on the Clippers. I'm high on the Clippers. I'm really excited to see the battle for Los Angeles. I'm excited to see Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. I'm excited to see Lou Williams too. Lou Williams last season ended up, coming off the bench, being number 1 and number 2 with Montrezl Harrell for 6th Man of the Year candidate. When's the last time that happened? I can't even think of a time. Running that pick and roll and being unstoppable for the Warriors, a seasoned defensive team that's seen almost everything to stop with Kevin Durant on the floor. So many plus defenders. And so what I'm wondering is, I'm not here to put anything into the air, anything into the ether. I said I'm excited about a lot of stuff, but I wonder how he will take to having his role diminished year after year. And I don't think he'll be on the floor all the time to close out games like he was last season. Yeah.
Oh, that's just one more threat for them to have when you got 3 ISO threats out there at the end of the game.
No, I said I don't think he'll be out there.
No, I'm saying if they do have him out, that's one more
That's
threat.
definitely a plus.
I'm sure they'll have him out for offense. And they'll take him out.
Yeah,
on defense,
I think Doc Rivers is smart. He's gonna be able to have offensive, defensive switches, but in times where it's high leverage, maybe they're out of timeouts or they don't want to risk being caught with the wrong personnel on the floor. If they're playing against the Lakers,
him going with Beverly.
He won't be closeout lineup.
Exactly. Him, Montrezl Harrell, like they put up a lot of points on the offensive end, super efficient, crazy efficient. But how much do they give up on the defensive end, not being able to slide their feet, get around? Right. Montrezl Harrell looks like he's really fast, but he's not that fast laterally. He's a little undersized as a big, so he's not going to be able to bang with guys like Anthony Davis or guard them one-on-one. So if that's not happening every day, I'm wondering what the kind of temperament is in the locker room. When you diminish a role like that.
Well, I think a guy who has multiple six man of the year is so unselfish to the point that he's
ready to win too.
He's ready to get a title.
That's a fair point. But I just feel like building up to being a playoff performer, a playoff finisher for your team, going up against the champs, and then having everything change so suddenly. What if it's not as great, or what if they even trade him because he's gonna have a lot of value?
That would be terrible. Idea.
What do you mean?
They just gave him that money too.
What if they gave him the goodwill extension, the goodwill guarantee. Things are going great, but they're not using him in every scenario like I'm painting, where he's not going to be out there every game. What if they sell high and send him off to the Heat and get something good in return to that better complements their team? So I'm just wondering. Just
a question, and you probably haven't thought about this part, but what would be a better piece for a team with that much depth?
Even before answering,
they're going to have really efficient offense with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, given their
health
another
situation.
Defender, somebody else that can defend and be even scarier, or somebody that's not a minus, a glaring minus.
I'm going to say for this team, especially for the regular season, and you got two of their best players are going to be low managed a lot. It's good to have a player like Lou Williams.
But to Richard's point, he's talking about trading him at the deadline.
At the deadline,
now you're getting ready for the playoffs. You're getting a piece for the playoffs. You're not
you're
no longer thinking load management.
I'm not saying that there's not value. I think
no. I still agree, but I feel like that's a good, especially in this season, you're gonna want to get as many wins as you can. So feel like you're gonna keep him.
Do you though?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I think they'd be happy.
Play the Lakers, you're at home anyway.
They'd be happy 1 through 4, in my opinion.
Yeah,
they're not.
That's a very good point, Rich. I'll have to marinate that throughout the season and think about it. But I think you're right, because if he is a overall minus, right, because his defense isn't that great, then I could definitely see that being a theme, because you only have Kawhi and Paul George locked down for 2 years. Mm-hmm. So you got to win this year, or next year, and if you want to be good guy to Lou Williams. You want to be good to him.
You have your money.
Put him somewhere where you can shine a little more. He'd be looking probably pretty good on the Heat.
Yeah.
They got so many guards over there, man.
Yeah. There's a lot of teams. There's a lot of teams with a lot of guards.
All right.
What you got next, Andre?
All right. Yeah. So next is the Golden State Warriors. So, I mean, everyone knows Steph probably going to put up MVP numbers this year, but I don't want to talk about him. I want to talk about their center. Kevon Looney, man. This dude actually has a pretty wet jump shot.
He has a high floor, man.
Yeah, he has a high floor. He didn't do much just because of the sheer amount of talent they had over the past couple of years. But the dude actually has a pretty legit jumper, and they're saying they're going to let him shoot more threes. He actually shot 41.5% on threes in college.
Oh, okay.
College free throw line. But he can.
I thought you were going to say in the NBA. I was like, how many attempts is that?
No,
like
I'm not
going
to pull that up. But no, he took a good amount, or at least 2 a game in college.
That's good. That's fair.
That's good. So for that team to help stretch the floor, especially
there's less
like last season,
college.
they didn't really have much.
Somebody's got to shoot, man.
Yeah, someone's got to shoot on that team. So I'm excited for what he can bring. Obviously Steph, Draymond,
and he's a smart defender, man. A smart plus defender.
Smart defender, and he can defend the perimeter. He's one of the few like actual centers who can go out on the perimeter and do well and don't get cooked.
I mean,
like they had Harden on him. They had him on Harden a lot.
They lost Kevin Durant. Yeah. They lost Klay Thompson for most of this year, if not all of this year, depending on how it goes. So they definitely need some plus defense with D'Angelo Russell out there.
It's pretty much him and Draymond.
Yeah.
And Alfonso.
And Steph tries. No, man. Don't say that, man.
But, man, I'm excited to see what he does. Definitely took the goodwill contract with them this year. I definitely thought he would get more than I think he's signed for like $5 million or something.
I thought it was 7, but
it was 5 or 7. It was less than 10 a year, and I was like, man, I thought he would get at least 10 or 15.
Either one of those is definitely a bargain.
Yeah, definitely.
If he does have a jumper, and he's got some of the best shooters around him to help him out a little bit with that.
Yeah.
But if he does develop a jumper, man, his value will skyrocket.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. $5 million, man. 3 years, $5 million a year, $15 million total.
Very home cooking.
Yeah.
I mean,
they were the team.
They gave him the shot.
Yeah, sure.
I think he came out the draft injured. So yeah. But yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do.
Cool.
It's good.
That's definitely not something that a lot of people are gonna say the first time you like. That's not the thing you expect someone to say. Man, the Warriors. Kevon Looney, baby.
Hey man, if you watch him, that's the guy.
If you didn't watch the playoffs, then
That's the guy, man.
That's on you.
Yeah.
Go back and watch.
Yeah.
Find the highlights.
So my next one's gonna be quick because we don't have a whole lot on this guy, but it's gonna be the Denver Nuggets, Michael Porter Jr. Drafted.
That's
what
the
was
real
it?
deal,
14,
y'all.
15. Just
14,
outside the lottery.
He would have been lottery guaranteed if he
was
was
the last pick of the
last
lottery.
pick of the lottery.
So it was 14. Yeah. The Nuggets took him. I think to this day it was a steal.
It was a gamble.
You know, he was at one point rated higher than Luka, than Trey, than all those guys in that draft, and even DeAndre Ayton. He was regarded as a higher prospect. But of course, the herniated discs in his back. You know, he only played 2 games in that last year for Mizzou.
Yeah.
So you know, whenever that happens, your stock falls very rapidly. Because if you're picking somebody in the lottery, you're thinking, hey, instant return, and that was not going to be the case with Michael Porter Jr. Did not play a single game last year. The herniated disc caused leg weakness, so people were worried that he might lose some of that bounciness because he could dunk. He dunked fairly frequently when he played in Mizzou. But the biggest thing was his jumper. I really love the form on his jumper. It's quick. It looks almost textbook. And he's really long, so he can get it right above his head. And it makes it very difficult for guys to guard him. He can shoot in stride. He has a slight fadeaway. I think he's still perfecting that.
And it seems like he's got some defensive instinct. I saw him get a couple of blocks on a single possession the other day.
Yeah, he was playing solid defense. He did get some blocks in the preseason. He was looking really good. I think he'll still come off the bench, but he can eventually work his way into the starting lineup.
They got so much talent over in
and it's kind of one of those situations where even if he doesn't get back to where he was with Mizzou, he can just be he can impact the game. He can be smart. He can protect the ball. He can perfect his jumper, and he can be an effective shooter. With the athleticism that he does have, he can contribute on any roster.
Like I can guarantee you,
and he's a steal at 14. At that point.
The Nuggets are salivating to have anyone that can take some minutes away from Will Barton as
get him off the court.
As all over the place. I think he's salivating. Like
we don't want to play him, but they're making us.
Because he's such a thrill, man. But geez, he's such a wild card. You just don't know when he's gonna.
I could see Michael Porter Jr. Sneaking his way into the starting lineup by the end of the year.
Never know, and like I said, you gotta save Mike Malone from himself because you remember he's
you can have Millsap out there with Jokic, and then you have Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, and him. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
You're saying Millsap.
I was saying you got to save Mike Malone for himself because no matter how bad Will Barton shoots, like he's gonna be like, I love him, and he's gonna stay in the starting lineup.
Trust me. Did you watch that series against Portland?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was like, I can't take him out. I love him.
Like, why is he out there instead of Gary?
I love it.
You put him out there sometimes instead of Gary, sometimes instead of Jamal. I'm like, what is going on?
I love Gary Harris.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I like Gary.
So speaking of love,
Kevin.
We
talking about Kevin.
I was actually thinking of Kevin Love trade scenarios with Paul Millsap, actually, but that's a topic for another podcast. Because Kevin Love says he's committed to the Cleveland Cavaliers, so that's that. My next team would actually be the Memphis Grizzlies. In as stacked of a division as they're in a division with the Spurs, the Rockets, the Pelicans, and the Mavericks, all who have playoff aspirations, if not championship aspirations. Saying I have top, 5, 10 players on my team in regards to the Mavericks, in regards to the Pelicans, in regards to the Rockets. They're a team that
just chilling.
They're chilling, and someone's got to lose. Like there are 15 teams, and not all 15 are going to win. Somebody's got to get these losses that these other teams are going to put on other teams. So I think the Grizzlies are going to be pretty low. They're going to be in the 20s, and this is a developmental season. It's like summer school for them, I guess. We're just here to sharpen you up. Get ready for the next season, the real school year, which is next year.
Staff development.
Yep, exactly. That's what they were doing. That's what they were doing. Staff development growing up. Yeah, so we don't have much to go on, like you were saying, but I was really heartened by Jaren Jackson not being afraid to shoot the three immediately. Something that they really opened up to, even with the previous coach, with Coach Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald. David Fizdale. I'm sorry.
Fitzgerald. Old Fizdale.
I'm thinking Larry Fitzgerald.
Take that for data.
Fizdale taking that for data. He said shoot the threes, and it keeps on going. He shot 36% from three last season, and he shot about almost 3 attempts a game, 2.5 attempts a game. I think he's going to go all the way up to 4 attempts per game, and he really wants to be able to stretch the floor. He shoots it with confidence. We saw him hit that 3-point buzzer beater against LeBron to steal the game. That shows he's not afraid to shoot. Not afraid to showcase his entire repertoire. He's got little scoop shots around the rim. Not afraid to shoot the mid-range. Get the layup in with consistency. But shooting that 3, shooting 4 times a game, being a threat that has to draw the big away from the rim, that's going to open things up for Ja Morant and anybody else that they're trying to develop on the Grizzlies. Because let me name some names, and we're probably not going to know them. They got we know these names: Solomon Hill. Whack.
Yeah, we know him.
Jay Crowder.
How old is Solomon Hill?
He old. Because he was on the Pelicans last, right?
He was born in 91, so he's like 28. He's not that old.
Well, yeah.
He got paid in 2016.
Some of those names that you just hear for so long that you feel like they've been around longer than that.
But yeah, Brandon Clark, Bruno Caboclo,
Ja Morant,
Melton, Jonas Valanciunas, who everybody loves that guy. But anyway, so it's developmental time. They're developing their coach. Like everything's developing over there. So
everyone's
developing.
Yeah.
So the developing Grizzlies. That's what I got. Grit and grind. Develop.
Grit, grind. Yeah. Grind them up.
The grit and sharpen like a pencil. Like
pencil
sharpen the pencils.
Sharpen the pencils.
Anyway,
all right.
You're up, Andre.
All right, So next team I got OKC. Potentially playoffs, maybe if everything goes right.
They could be a real my dark horse is gonna stay the Jazz, but that's that team that could sneak in, man.
Yeah,
they might make talent.
They got like Chris Paul. He's not like completely washed. He's still like a pretty good player.
He's not washed at all.
Yeah.
He's very.
I'm just putting it out there for people who are like, oh no, Chris Paul, get him out of here. But they got him. They actually picked up Danilo Gallinari in the trade for Paul George, who is actually pretty solid player when he's healthy. Shoots pretty well. Did really well actually for the Clippers last season. So I think he'll be a good piece to help stretch the floor in OKC, who have traditionally not had very strong shooters. And then the sophomore Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah,
shot 50 from the field, 36.7 from 3, and almost 90% from the free throw line. Yeah, 89.5% from the free throw line.
He also set the record for most letters on the back of a jersey.
Man, he beat Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, dude, it's Gilgeous-Alexander. But the whole thing goes on the back of the jersey.
Yeah, but Giannis just he's marrying his girlfriend, his wife with a real long name. And
are they going to hyphenate?
Taking her name.
Yeah, they're going to hyphenate.
Well, she's going to add to it, and I'm sure their son will have both or something.
Oh, then his son will.
His son will just be a circle.
A whole circle around. But he's going into his sophomore year. Had a very good rookie season. Shot pretty well, pretty efficiently, even though it didn't lead to much success. But that
was honestly the biggest piece they lost in that trade.
Yeah,
Shai Gilgeous.
Yeah, and the thing that sticks out with me is like how not afraid of the moment. That one play against the Golden State Warriors where they kicked the ball to Shai at the wing or at the right of the free throw line, and he kicked it out to Landry Shamet without hesitation after making a double move. Landry Shamet drained that shot.
Both of them were rookies too, man.
Right,
They're not scared to shoot,
but not afraid of the moment. And so that's what I like the most. And speaking of that Clippers team, Danilo Gallinari, that's actually a reason why I don't think I guess I've been down on everybody so far. I don't think the Thunder are gonna make the playoffs. Not for
the West will only have 4 teams in the playoffs this year.
Not for their own fault or their lack of talent. Because they definitely could put things together. Steven Adams' quality, Chris Paul's quality, that's a good foundation. Danilo Gallinari when he's playing is a walking bucket, but I think a franchise like the Thunder with a savvy GM like Sam Presti and an ownership that doesn't want to pay this much for the team that they have, they're going to trade that guy.
Yeah, he's a good trade piece, especially towards the trade deadline. That's a good piece for a contending team.
There's going to be several teams that are like, okay, this will put us over the top.
Go back to the Clippers. Can they do that?
They can.
Okay.
Yeah. But they don't have anything.
No.
What assets do they have? They have no picks.
Hey, y'all want Lou Williams?
They're just waiting for the Andre Iguodala buyout market, man. That's what the Clippers are waiting on.
That's for sure.
Yeah, but I like both of them.
Yeah, they'll be fun. They'll be interesting.
OKC will probably keep Shai.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to watch. My next team is going to be the Kings, and their newest member, Trevor Ariza. I think Trevor Ariza is one of the, I wouldn't say, I feel like he is slightly underrated. The contributions he made in Houston, I think it was a big missing piece this last season when we talked about running it back against the Warriors in Houston. I think they missed his defense. I would say a true 3-and-D guy. I mean, he shoots in the
original 3-and-D guy with athleticism.
And I think he can definitely bring some defense for the Kings. He is 40th in steals. He was 95th in rebounds, so he'll help there. They were the Kings were kind of middle of the pack in all stats, but particularly in the rebounding and the steal department. So he'll bring that almost immediately. He also is a facilitator, 76th in assists. So just an overall player that, he knows his role. He's not afraid of the moment, like Richard was mentioning with some of the other guys. He's been on the big stage. He's been in the Western Conference Finals. Just
champion.
He is a champion. Yeah. You're right. You're right. I forget he won a title.
He's been in the Western Conference Finals.
Sorry, it's all good. He's got a title underneath his belt. I think it's good to have that veteran leadership in a locker room where you have some young guys like Buddy Hield and Marvin Bagley. You got a lot of young guys: Marvin Bagley, Buddy Hield, De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
So it'll be good to have him there. You kind of show him the ropes, kind of show him how to keep their composure, because I think the Kings were very hot. Like they were streaking, about 3/4 of the way through the season, and then they kind of just flamed out. At the very end, we were like, oh, they're only 3 games back from the 8th seed, and then all of a sudden they ended up like 9 games back from the 8th seed. And I think having somebody like Ariza who can kind of help alleviate some of the responsibilities from some of those young guys, not only just with minutes played, but also with on the defensive side, you can kind of hide
being a steadying presence.
Yeah, I think will definitely help them. And we talk about the Kings we talk about all these teams potentially. You said they can't all
win, man.
They can't all win.
Somebody's got to lose.
But I think that'll be a good piece. I think that could sneak them into the 8th seed. That 8th seed is going to be very interesting. I mean, it's going to be so many teams fighting for it at the end of the season.
I mean, the top 6 teams off the top of my head: the Rockets, the Jazz, the
Warriors.
Do you count the Warriors? Both LA teams, the Nuggets.
I'd put Warriors up there.
The Warriors,
yeah, you gotta put
6,
the Warriors.
And we're missing. And then
you got Jazz already.
You didn't even say the Trailblazers.
I didn't even say the Blazers. So there's 4 or 5 teams that are all going to be fighting for those bottom 2 spots on the West. So that's crazy.
It's a real bloodbath.
Yeah, that's all I got on that.
Okay, so for my next team, I'm sure some listeners are surprised that we took so long to get to them now, but I have the Dallas Mavericks. And my, good old H. Barnes right here, Dirk in the background. My general, I guess, musing is, or as far as X Factor player goes, is not going to be Kristaps Porzingis or Luka Doncic.
It's Jalen Brunson.
I am going to bring him up. Andre's reading my notes. It's Jalen Brunson.
Oh, I was right. Yeah.
So I think
I can read.
So one thing I think is a little strange is that, the Mavericks don't always have excellent, success in free agency. A lot of times their biggest acquisitions will come through trade. Just look at Jason Kidd, look at Tyson Chandler, look at Kristaps Porzingis. Even Dirk Nowitzki was a trade draft day with Paul Pierce. So free agency has never been a strong suit. So the team that they ran back, Maxi Kleber, Dwight Powell, Jalen Brunson, DeLon Wright, these are guys that wouldn't start on every team. So there are going to be people in the Mavericks starting lineup that wouldn't be starters on other teams. And so what I think is if this show isn't going to devolve into the Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis trying to get every ounce of scoring out of themselves possible to get wins in this Western Conference, they're going to need a guy that can create a little bit. And Seth Curry definitely can do it in spurts, but not all the time. That's why there's a Seth Curry game in the playoffs, not a Seth Curry series throughout an entire 7-game, bout in the Eastern or Western Conference Finals.
And he's not always guarding his brother,
Western semis. Yeah, exactly. The extra kick he needs. So I think Jalen Brunson, kind of like JJ Barea before him, really crafty, able to get to the lane, has good moves going left and right, can get a shot up over slightly taller guys, and it's quicker than you might think. Kind of like the backup quarterback theory where you don't really game plan for this guy, and he's going to kind of surprise the defenders. This scouting report is going to be a mile long on Kristaps and a mile long on Luka Doncic. I think it really could, with Rick Carlisle's penchants for putting out 3 guard lineups. I think he really could develop even more this season, having more playing time with Barea coming back from his ACL injury, taking less minutes. That's who I'm looking at.
I think that you're spot on with that, and we just finished watching the Mavericks and the Raptors.
And I didn't even watch that game, so let's see what they say.
Even though
a lot of
hates
what you said was in there.
Yeah, even though Richard hates preseason. Just kidding, Richard.
Good, man.
It was exactly that.
Yeah.
It felt like there was a lot of attention, obviously drawn to the 2 stars, right? Kristaps and Luka. that Jalen Brunson kind of had an open path almost. He to do whatever he wanted. He was slashing to the rim, getting to the rim like in a hurry.
Dribble handoffs.
And it was like almost nobody to meet him there, dude.
And
like,
he's got good free throws too.
Yeah, and even when he missed, he's so scrappy and he's so hustle.
Yeah, he got his own rebound.
He got his own rebound
2 or 3 times.
Yeah. And put it right back.
And they're playing in the basically dress rehearsal tonight against the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard was out there. He was trying.
He was salty.
He had 4 fouls.
Yeah,
and
they actually got into it.
Kawhi was playing hard. And Kawhi was guarding like everybody. But Jalen Brunson really shined. I wish I had the numbers right in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he scored about 12 points in the first quarter.
He did well.
And
efficiently too.
They got out to a huge lead, and there was a lot of sparks of brilliance, or the whole thing was a big spark of brilliance. And his shot was nice. I think he hit a couple threes. But like you said, Andre, he was distributing the ball at the same time. So
the guy who's able to do it all, score in,
passing it to Tim Hardaway Jr. and just shooting, just letting it rip.
Tim Hardaway. He plays like a veteran, man. All the commentators say it, but like when you watch him play, you can really see it. He's a guy who knows what he's doing.
And I'm glad you mentioned the Berea thing, because obviously they played last year together. They had the off season. It's almost like he's mimicking his game around him. Yeah. But Jalen Brunson's obviously a little bit taller, so when he gets to the
just
rim,
a little bit taller.
Yeah, but
you don't have to lie.
It makes a difference when you get to the
definitely.
It makes a difference when you get to the rim, right? Because you can throw your body into the guy a little bit more,
and you have a little more wingspan to separate from his body.
Yeah, he looked real nice. I think he can definitely have a breakout year. Now that you have to worry about 2 guys and not just Luka, it's like Jalen Brunson.
It's like it gives him that much more space.
Yeah, and so speaking of the 2-man game, I kind of wanted to end the Maverick segment with this little tidbit, and it's something that me and JV used to talk about several years ago. It's like, why don't Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant just run the damn pick and roll fucking every time? Like, if it works every time, just run it every time.
Russell Westbrook and Ibaka ran it like almost twice as much as Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant.
And so I think it's like KD don't like to set picks or something.
That's true. Yeah, he doesn't like setting screens. Russell Westbrook's not a great screen setter, but that's not really what I was getting at that point. But maybe there was a little bit of a method to the madness, because if you think back to the Jason Terry, Dirk Nowitzki pick and roll, pick and pop, really, just ask the 2011 Heat and Eric Spoelstra how hard it is to guard when you have good shooters around him. So Jalen Brunson fits into this mold here. Yeah. Seth Curry fits into the mold here. Dylan Wright doesn't fit into the mold so much, but
Tim Hardaway Jr. is pretty good.
He can fit into the mold, but ask them how hard that is to guard. And so think back to those 2006 through 2011 Mavericks. Dirk and Jason Terry were not running that all game long. They saved that as their knockout punch in the fourth quarter. That's when they were saying, all right, we're throwing this in here. You can't guard this. Time to spam. Yeah. Exactly. Kind of spam.
Got full bar. Let's go.
So in this scenario, are you saying Luka and
KP?
KP, right?
Just spam it right at the end.
And then you got to respect Brunson. And even Kleber. You got to respect Kleber.
And do you run 2 guys of Luka Doncic around the screen, or do you have an extra guy having to shade over to Kristaps Porzingis?
And you're leaving Seth Curry and all them open.
I'm glad you mentioned it. All this seemed to happen tonight. That happened one time where he came out the roll and he dished it to Kristaps Porzingis, and Kristaps basically dumped it in. Like it was like, oh, I get thrown away trash. And seriously, and the one's like, play I'm talking about,
plate return.
It literally looked like he dropped it in, dude. Like he was dropping change in the collection bucket.
That's not even the play that I'm thinking of, because like I said, I didn't get to his game yet, but they're running pick and pop outside the 3-point line. Luka Doncic.
Oh yeah.
Luka Doncic was running around the screen where Kristaps was setting it a little bit inside that logo that Lillard shoots from. Yeah. And Luka, he likes to he's pretty quick. He's not the quickest, but at his position, he's quicker than most guys. But he's not like spread pick and roll all the time. He doesn't want to just beat his man one-on-one, kind of like James Harden, who's more athletic than Luka. He likes having the guy on his shoulder, getting kind of into that congested area. So if you can get a guy like Dwight Powell roll into the rim, he doesn't mind having it a little more congested in there. He's crafty enough to get the ball with his height over the defense, going this way, that way. So there's a lot of avenues that the Mavericks can take. And if everything goes well, if Kristaps' health goes, swimmingly, I'm really excited. So
yeah, that'll be a lot of fun to watch.
It should be a fun.
But a big key is Jalen Brunson. Brunson,
you guys will get some live reports on some of those games. Damn, that's going to be a team that's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Hit down just as long as we hit those open shots, man.
Yeah,
gotta hit them
for sure.
But
right, who's your last team?
Last team.
All right, so
my last team is the Atlanta Hawks, and I'm gonna go with unconventional guy, a lot of people I've been talking about have been youngsters.
Vince Carter.
This is a guy who's been in the league. He's been around for a bit. 22 years, they say. But yeah, I'm talking about Vince Carter.
You're excited for the farewell tour?
Yeah, farewell tour for this guy. He obviously loves to play, man. He's been playing a lot of minutes in preseason, which you wouldn't expect from a guy who's like played as long as he has. Like you see a lot of contenders, like even now, who aren't really playing in preseason. This dude's playing in every game he can.
He just has like an all-time body, man. Like if you compare his human specimen to other humans, he's probably in the top 1% of humans. You know what I mean? 0.00.
Like he's up there. And the dude, he's evolved his game to go with the times too. Started shooting threes just before he came to the Mavericks. He put up a bunch here, so he's been shooting those pretty consistently. Can drive, can pass. Just been a great mentor for that team. So I'm excited to see what they can do. Because I mean, outside of like, I won't say Vince is like a big like prospect for the Hawks, but I don't think they have too much.
It'll be
going
fun
for them right now.
It'll be fun
they'll be a fun team to watch.
Dude, John Collins,
let's call it like it is.
Young making
Let's call it like it is. It'll be one of the shining lights on an otherwise.
That's another year. They're
season.
developing.
Yeah,
so
they're
it's
developing.
like.
Oh, and they're fun to watch, man. Trae Young can mix it up, and so that's definitely a league pass team that a lot of people are going to follow. Like some people don't get the whole league pass package; they get 4 or 5 teams,
a couple teams to watch.
And the Hawks are going to be a lot of people's, especially with the
Trae Young's gonna be
Trae Young, John Collins, and they got RJ Barrett now too. So there's a lot.
What you mean? The Knicks got Barrett.
I got that wrong.
Yeah.
Sorry. Cam Reddish.
Yeah.
Sorry. Didn't they all play on the same team? Cam Reddish, RJ Barrett, and Zion. I get it confused sometimes. So might be
all fair enough.
The Duke boys.
Yeah.
Cool.
But that's who I'm looking for.
So this is
hopefully his tour will be better than Duke's.
This is like somebody like out of a novel. The fact that this is my last team. It's the Portland Trailblazers. And one name that I mentioned,
Damian Lillard.
It's not Damian Lillard. It's not the Mama's Boys.
It's just how I said.
It's gonna be Zach Collins.
Oh, nice.
So I really enjoyed watching Zach Collins play last year in the playoffs. I would have loved to have seen Nurkic. Of course, if we had seen more Nurkic, there would have been very little Zach Collins. But when there was Zach Collins, I was excited to see him on the floor. He's athletic, guys. Like, I don't know if you guys, if you watched the playoffs, you saw him.
We saw.
He was very athletic. I enjoyed watching him play. He hustles. He shot over 50% last year in the playoffs when he was on the floor.
You went supernova that 4.
Yeah, he actually averaged last season 14.7. Well, he never played 36 minutes, but in 36 minutes, he averaged 14.7 rebounds and 3 blocks. I think he can increase on that if he has more time on the floor. He is going to be backing up Hassan Whiteside for the first, I would say, third of the season. And then from there, he's just going to continue to grow his game. I think a lot of people were high on him out of college. And I think it's somebody who this season will really get an opportunity to elevate his game because he's going to be playing a lot more minutes during the regular season. He's not having to play third fiddle to Nurkic. And I could possibly see him turning into a trade piece and maybe getting traded for Kevin Love.
Oh, you never know. I just think he needs to stop fouling and it'd be all uphill all uphill. Yeah. Uphill is a good thing, right?
Yeah, you don't want to go down. You can't.
Yeah.
Rich, who's your last team?
My last team is going to be the New York Knickerbockers. And so let me just start by naming the guys on this team. All right, you ready?
All right.
We've got Reggie Bullock, Taj Gibson, Kevin Knox.
Taj is there now?
Yeah. Marcus Morris, Bobby Portis, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. These are all forwards that expect to play this season.
How many forwards is it?
That's like 6 dudes, man. They're gonna have just a huge lineup.
What are they doing?
All right, David Fizdale. But that's not who we're gonna talk about. I'm talking about Frankie Smokes, Frank Ntilikina.
Frankie.
Yeah, man. So he got drafted one pick before Dennis Smith Jr.
And now they're both there.
They're both there. Dennis is gonna be fighting with Dennis Smith for development once Dennis Smith gets back in the lineup. But so Ntilikina, always a good prospect on defense. People really praised how he really adapted to the NBA system really quickly, able to switch on to different defenders and use his length and his speed, even though his shot wasn't there necessarily. And FIBA is not the NBA. But another way the FIBA is not the NBA is that the Knicks don't run advanced offense with NBA players, whereas the French team definitely does with guys like Rudy Gobert and Evan Fournier. And so just in that small sample size alone, shooting 50% from the field, shooting over almost 90% from the free throw line, and then 33% from three, a little bit under league average, like competent spacing, competent threat with guys that are capable with the ball in their hands. So if this New York Knicks team ever develops into anything, or if they end up trading him away,
they gotta get rid of some of the forwards.
If they end up trading him away, that's who I'm really excited about. Frankie Smokes, as athletic and exciting as Dennis Smith can be, I think that if I had to compare the two careers, I would say Frank Ntilikina has a chance of having a longer career than Dennis Smith.
So. Yeah, I think Frank Ntilikina got a bad
rap.
Yeah,
just because you immediately want to judge the trade.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited for another developmental team.
Yeah. Yeah,
those are all forwards that expect to play.
Maybe they'll eventually get it together in New York. Who knows? But at the very least, we get to see some young talent, right?
Yeah.
Playing on one of the biggest stages.
Dennis,
hopefully
Frank.
RJ doesn't. Oh.
I still like Elfrid Payton. I think
we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
See what happens. Cool. That does it for our second half of our season preview, guys. If you disagree with any of our takes or have a particular name that we might not have mentioned that you're excited about, go ahead and send us a message on Twitter at shotcallersshow. Send us an email to shotcallersshow@gmail.com. Messages on Instagram to _shotcallers. Leave a comment. Or on YouTube, review Apple Podcasts with the question.
Please do.
Yeah, we'll make sure to get to that ASAP. Rich, do you have anything else?
So I don't have any bits this week. I'm saving them up for the regular season because we're going to launch season 2 of the Shot Callers, guys. We've completed season 1.
Yeah, so next Tuesday, we'll be back on track, and the next podcast we'll be back.
But we do have listener mail.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so no bits, but we do have listener mail. Our guy Christian from Arlington mailed us in. I got the screenshot here. Asking basically about the next dynasty that we see come.
It's 1 o'clock, guys.
Come around the corner.
So if I remember correctly, he obviously during the 2010s, the Heat and the Warriors dominated, right? They were the two major dynasties.
Spurs too.
Who do we see? Yeah, the Spurs won a few. Who do we see becoming the next potential dynasty, or kind of like the what do you call it?
Most poised to kind of run the decade?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we don't have to spend 10 years on this. We can definitely elaborate at a later time as things kind of develop a little more, but we are right around the corner from 2020.
So you don't want to all just give one team?
Oh, I think it'd be the Oklahoma City Thunder personally, just with the pedigree of trades that they're able to accomplish. They've been on the winning side of a lot of trades, minus the Oladipo one and of course the Harden one. So that doesn't sound so great right off the bat.
But now they got hella resources.
They got a treasure chest full of assets, and they know how to draft. Like we know that they drafted Russell Westbrook. They drafted
3 MVPs.
Yeah, 3 MVPs exactly. So Sam Presti somehow pulls magic out of thin air. We don't know how he does it, but with the war chest that they have enough to get a star now, and kind of like with the Paul George trade, they got him to stay even though he ended up bailing. They said, okay, he's a restricted free agent, or he's in the last year of his contract, we're gonna go ahead and take him on. We're gonna get the star piece you need, and that's the building block of the rest of the dynasty, getting more people to come. So I'm pegging the Thunder to be relevant for a long time. I think this is just a blip this current season.
I'm gonna go with the Dallas Mavericks.
Oh,
just because we talk a lot about the era of the duos, and who has a younger duo than the Dallas Mavericks?
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
All these other duos are in their higher 20s. Luka and Kristaps, if you average their age, is like 22. So they're set up to have that duo, and they're both locked down. I mean, I would imagine Luka, as soon as we can, the Mavericks will extend him or lock him down for a long-term contract. Kristaps is locked down for 5 years.
I think they'll give him a Jamal Murray where like we could wait till the end of this next season to extend him, but they'll just say, go ahead, do this now. We're doing this right now.
Exactly. I think you have to with Luka, and then you can find that third piece, right? It doesn't have to be another superstar, but a third piece.
Well, and it could be. I would say that it's a little more likely that a superstar says, you know what, I probably wouldn't mind living in Dallas compared to Oklahoma City. No offense to Oklahoma City, but
yeah,
you're it's like the Rust Belt urban up there.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with the Mavericks. I just think that they're poised to have their two superstars for the next decade.
Did you want to talk about the process?
did you know?
Is that really what you were going to say?
How did you know?
I don't know.
So you guys are talking about duos, and as much as I like Milwaukee, I feel like this is the make or break year for them. I feel like if they don't win this year, then
Giannis is gone.
Yeah, because I don't think it's getting any better than what it is now. Even if Giannis improves, it's going to be hard for them to, fill that area around him as well as they have it now. And I think last year they were even better than they were this year. So it's going to be interesting. But if I had to pick a team, we're talking about duos, young team, Sixers. So Ben Simmons just signed his extension. Embiid signed his the year before last. They're in their prime right now, or Embiid's going into his prime next season, and Ben's he's 22. Mm-hmm. So they've still got a ways to go.
Second,
they're both right. Yeah.
The thing that doesn't give me pause, but gives some people pause, is kind of Ben Simmons' general temperament, and wondering if he wants to kind of flex his muscles on his own team and be able to play fast all the time. We'll see if that changes this season with Joel Embiid being in better shape. But I mean, if they are able to coexist and be happy, you don't have to be happy-go-lucky to last.
So are you saying their games don't necessarily complement each other the best?
Not, the speed that each wants to play.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And how Joel Embiid doesn't.
And they could obviously develop that, right?
Right, they can, and they don't have to be best of friends to be long-lasting teammates. Just look at other teams throughout the league throughout the years, like Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan weren't always on the same page.
They hated Dennis Rodman on the way in.
Joel Embiid doesn't necessarily like shooting a bunch of threes, but he says, "I will if I have to." But. So if that goes great, I can definitely see Andre's prediction kind of coming true.
I think something to go along with that is they're pretty young. Embiid not
Tobias
so
Harris
much anymore. He was 25, but Simmons being 22, they're growing up now. And I feel like, especially after last year, the way they lost, I think having a loss like that, especially when you're that young, goes a long way in helping you develop and develop that winning mindset. So I think them going forward, they'll be a pretty consistent team. They'll be running the East for a while, I think.
Yeah, all great choices, guys. If you're a listener, and let us know. Go on Twitter.
What do y'all
Shotcallers Show.
Thank you for the question, Christian.
Yeah, great question, Christian. Let us know on Twitter at Shotcallers Show. Which of the 3 duos that we named do you guys think? Maybe we'll put a poll out there. Which of the 3 duos we named do you think will have the most success going into the 2020s? That is a very good question.
Sight. They're one broken thumb away from.
It's like post LeBron.
It's a sandcastle of thumbs or what?
Cool. So
JD's rubbing the sleep out of his eye. Let's rub.
No, that's literally something in my eye.
Oh, okay.
I'm not even tired. But just to recap, guys, all of our social media. If you're not already listening to us on Apple Podcasts, make sure to follow us on Apple. Yeah, leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts.
A rating and a review, please. That would be really great. Shoot us up the charts. Best new sports podcast. If you want to be as cool as Christian is, send us an email. If you want to be cool like Kyle, send us a DM on Twitter. If you want to be cool like our man Jesus, send us a DM on Instagram. Yeah. Whatever you want.
I think we've got a message on every medium at this point, right?
Yeah.
So we really appreciate it, guys. Again, we're on YouTube, the Shot Callers. Comment, like, subscribe. Instagram, _ShotCallers. Twitter, Shotcallers Show. And send us a message. shotcallersshow@gmail.com. I think we got it all. We appreciate you joining us for yet another episode. But until next time, I'm JB.
I'm Sleepy.
And I'm also sleepy.
And we're the Shot Callers. Sound like I'm working with them freaking dwarves. What are they called?
Fucking Oompa Loompas.
No,